Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a fantastic day. Just woke up. So of course, going to sound a bit crazy for the first couple of minutes. But without any further ado, let's jump right into it. There's, of course, a lot of news to cover. If you've noticed, the last I want to say week or so, the market has reacted a bit more bullishly, at least at the time of me making this video. We are now receiving a number of reports and numbers as to who is actively investing in Bitcoin. This was one of the largest question marks, and it's also a bit weird that the news took this long to actually be released. But we heard that there was a lot of speculation that institutions were buying into the market, or they were doing it in a relative hush-hush manner as to when and how much money they were allocating into the Bitcoin market. But because the ETFs are a securitized version of Bitcoin, essentially, you have all the filings have to actually go through the US SEC. And this is why we had news 4 or 5 days ago. For those of you who missed the video, there were people who were like scouring the SEC's website and a bunch of other filings websites to see exactly who is buying and has been buying Bitcoin ETFs. And this one was gigantic news. I myself have not heard of this company. I don't know them. Apparently, they're well known. But yeah, major news of the day. It talks about ETF approvals and people getting into the market, yada, 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 so and so and so. There's a company called Booth Bay, like a photo booth and sitting by the bay, Booth Bay. They reported in their 13F forms with the US SEC, and apparently people were looking through them, obviously, to see exactly how much Bitcoin they held, yada, 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 so and so and so. So it says, so how much Bitcoin ETF can a single company hold on behalf of its partners? Apparently, they're holding, according to reports, Booth Bay is holding $5.2 billion worth of Bitcoin on behalf of their clients, for the company, for their partners. We've been getting a huge amount of who's holding Bitcoin news. And this is what I think is adding to the bullish movements that we've seen quite recently in the market. I mean, it's a slew of things. The news that apparently the Fed is getting ready to cut interest rates is quite news. No one has an exact date. We thought that there would be 4 interest rate cuts by this point, or rather over the course of this year, and that we would have seen 2 happen already. But there's a lot of optimism that in the very near future, we're going to see 1 cut and then potentially another one towards the end of the year. There was news about, what was it? It was one of those other reports where basically it looks like all of the weak hands, if you will, have left the market, have been flushed out of the market. A lot of shorts and longs have been liquidated. And now it's basically time for Bitcoin to go up. I saw one article. They said that they had a timeline that said that allegedly 3 weeks after Bitcoin's halving has taken place, apparently for 3 weeks, Bitcoin's price goes down. And now that those 3 weeks are over after the halving, now it's, up and up time once again. But then you also have a lot of news as to like who's buying, who's actively in the market. And we've been getting a lot of big names, none so far as big as Booth Bay. I don't see it written anywhere as to what Booth Bay does, but sure. It says this amount belongs to a single fund company, and many fund companies and investment advisors have not yet decided on a spot Bitcoin ETF. Here's the filing right here. It's very tiny. It's kind of all over the place. It's just numbers and stuff. It looks like someone just literally took a screenshot but didn't explain to us what we were supposed to look at. So it's written here below, apparently from the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. They have $149 million worth of Bitcoin. Fidelity, they have $105 million. Grayscale, they have $69 million worth of Bitcoin. Bitwise, they have $52 million worth of Bitcoin. It says Boothbay is currently the largest reported investor in BlackRock, Fidelity, and Bitwise ETFs. And yeah, and it says, eventually we're going to start seeing more companies also releasing their information as well. Very popular news. I don't want to say the words it should be more popular, but as is quite common within the cryptocurrency space, if it's not news directly related to prices, people never seem to actually care, which is usually one of the largest shames of actually dealing and being in this space. Even when prices dip and we get continual news that people are buying or institutions are in there, people are buying OTC, the vast majority of people in the space, in the cryptocurrency space, tend to not care because they look at the news and they see that Bitcoin has gone down by 6%. And therefore, it's a very sad day for them. But I think that's not, this is just me being honest. I think that's just the way that life is. There's always going to be people who constantly miss out on opportunities because someone's not hyping it up for them, or they don't see the potential in them making $100 million over the course of one day. But no, the institutions are here. They're buying in huge numbers. A lot of the rumors that we've been getting from either ETF issuers or other companies behind the scenes, that apparently people are buying as much as they possibly can over the counter and through ETFs, but silently, because a lot of, we're getting these numbers because these companies have to file with the SEC so we can exactly see how many shares that they have of an ETF. But besides that, the other companies who are also individuals and family offices and banks who are buying, yeah, it's a gigantic number, and the amount of Bitcoin, once again, that people think is on the market is not actually there. So it becomes that situation once again where I try to hint that Bitcoin is going to continue going up in price and that normal people should be benefiting from it. But you have companies like Boothbay who do it instead. Yeah, that's the Boothbay. Apparently is one of the largest, they needed to file with the SEC holders of Bitcoin right now. And yeah, let's move on. Also this also should have been larger news. I don't know how people keep ignoring this stuff. I don't get it. The Bank of Montreal, like Montreal in Canada. Yeah. The Bank of Montreal has disclosed that they also have exposure to spot Bitcoin ETFs through a recent SEC filing. In a recent filing, the bank disclosed its spot ETF holdings with multiple issuers. This comes on the heels of Bitcoin ETF acquisitions by traditional financial firms. Apparently, they are holding Bitcoin from Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, BlackRock, and Grayscale. You'll notice that Grayscale is in nearly every single company who's also announcing that they have Bitcoin. And the weird part is that Grayscale has the highest fees. It's 1.5% fees compared to the other companies. We also have not, to date, I believe it launched. Grayscale launched a mini Bitcoin fund. They said as a way to be more competitive within the market with a 0.15% fee. And we have not had any news about buying, accumulation, how many people are in that market, nothing, which is quite surprising. But we're getting all this filing news from these companies, from these banks, from these institutions, and from countries who are buying and holding large amounts of Bitcoin through the ETFs. And it's like people are hearing the news, but it does absolutely nothing to their idea as to like what Bitcoin actually is. I read an article discussing the intensity of what it means to actually have Bitcoin ETFs. and the, air quotes, legitimacy that Bitcoin now has around the world because of these ETFs, literally because of it. It is now a proper financial institution, or what's the other word? Financial object. I can't think of the exact thing right now. And the majority of the world just doesn't care. And even people within the cryptocurrency space, I understand, I get it. We're all here for the monies, but the short-term thinking is insane right now. But I think that's just how people are. I think that's just how humanity is. I think when there's not something shiny dangling continuously in front of people's faces, they lose the interest very, very quick. And the gigantic shame of the matter is, well, there's multiple layers to it, actually. But when Bitcoin does go to $100,000, these are going to be the people who left the market, who are rushing back in at 100K just to say that they bought Bitcoin at 100,000 when they could have had it a lot lower in price. But I mean, that also goes over the course of the last decade as well for many different people. We've had news. So even for first of all, the Bank of Montreal is gigantic. This isn't like some, fly, oh, okay, whoa, they're a really small bank. No, the fact that any bank is quietly buying Bitcoin, and then we have to hear about it because someone was filing through the SEC filings is incredibly weird. I don't, and I'll say it this way. I understand that the majority or a fraction of you might understand the significance of this, but I don't get other people who simply breeze by it, or like it's not big news to them. You understand that Bitcoin has won, right? There's not a situation where this asset that's been around for barely 15 years is being accumulated. I don't know, whatever. I'm kind of tired of always not stressing. Stressing's not the word, but like giving so much intensity when it comes to these things. I told you all before, I tried years ago to get people not only into crypto, and a lot of people didn't listen. I tried to get people into buying art, and people still don't listen. I showed people like inexpensive, and I mean relative, especially to now, real estate. And I mean like, apartments for 25,000, 50,000 that are now like high six figures. And I think that's just the way that people are going to react to a lot of different things. It's always a looking into the past and going, I could have gotten it. There's nothing more that actually needs to happen. We know that the largest banks on the planet are buying Bitcoin. Institutions, family offices, companies, corporations. And even the craziest part, I can tell you without even knowing, it is probably as clear as day that Google, Amazon, Facebook, and every other major company is holding large amounts of, and I mean like actual Bitcoin somewhere. But because it's not in the news, people pretend like it's not happening. You can hear the words at the Bank of Montreal. I think we also recently had news that JP Morgan Chase also has exposure to the Bitcoin ETFs. And a lot of these numbers aren't even for some reason public. I can't find the numbers as to how much Bitcoin a lot of these banks are holding. And then people still doubt it. I don't get it. So yeah, that's the Bank of Montreal news. Quite significant. And at some point when Bitcoin hits $1 million, it'll be completely clear as day that this was all going to happen. And a lot of people will be, for lack of a better term, kicking themselves as they pretended that this news was not significant. That's the Bank of Montreal holds Bitcoin news. Let's move on. Also in incredibly popular news, Robinhood has announced that people will be able to begin staking their Solana. Apparently, this is currently only offered in Europe. This is probably, I would assumably say, because the US SEC on their rampage has announced that basically they believe that every coin except for Bitcoin is a security. And I'm sure the discussions around Bitcoin are also circling as well because the SEC is completely out of control. But I assume this is because they announced that every coin on the market is considered a security. And I don't remember getting any US Robinhood news that US Robinhood was also allowing Solana staking. So if it is, awesome. But yeah, this appears to only be for Europe at the moment. It says customers will receive a 5% return on their staked tokens. And it says Solana's price displayed bearish actions. And I mean, it's because the market is completely all over the place. But yeah, while I do not care for Solana, I know that a lot of other people have it, regardless of what I might say. But that's also for a future conversation. So yeah, major news. Robinhood is now offering Solana staking. A lot of other coins are basically doing the exact same thing. It's a very easy way to get your coin to become quite popular. The idea of passive income is quite strong, not only within the crypto space, but in the financial world. So if you can have an asset that people can essentially accumulate and then stake to receive money for doing absolutely nothing, of course, it's going to be quite popular. Yeah, that's the Robinhood Solana staking in Europe news. Okie dokie. Let's move on. Also in I guess OKX, a leading global crypto exchange, has officially launched their services in Australia, marking a significant expansion into the Asia Pacific region. This announcement was made by McLaren Racing driver Oscar Piastri. Why did he make the announcement? Okay, at an event in Sydney on the 14th of May. Jamie Kennedy, general manager, emphasized the need for a secure and user-friendly platform for Australian crypto users. Do people in Australia not have Coinbase, Kraken, and Gemini? I'm like legitimately asking because, you know, he said Australian crypto users deserve a platform that is secure, easy to use, and responsive to their needs, which include seamless access to banking rails as well as Australian dollar pairs for the most popular cryptocurrencies. This was also quite popular, and I didn't really get it. Maybe there's more people in Australia into crypto than we previously believed. This is lightly relevant. We've had some metrics before as to like English speaking nations who are like heavily into crypto. And I think it goes United States, then the UK, then Canada. I think even South Africa also like beat out Australia. So cool. Why it's so popular, I don't really know. And once again, this is not the first crypto exchange in Australia. So maybe there's some people who really wanted to use OKX and here you are. So cool. We're seeing a lot of expansion news. We're seeing a lot of companies announcing that they can do this magical dance in front of all of us, but it's basically because of the bull run. Everyone's trying to make sure that everyone else knows that they are currently able to do something that they wanted to do because and all those other kinds of things. So fantastic. That's the OKX has launched within Australia news. Moving along. In lightly dystopian, but also cool, it happened. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signed a Bitcoin rights bill into law on Monday, enshrining Oklahoma's legal right to mine, transact with, and self-custody cryptocurrencies, and boosting the state's reputation for being a friendly destination for crypto companies and investors. When I say dystopian, it's because a lot of places around the world have actually, I think it's like 4 or 5 countries who have made like crypto illegal, which is insane. It is a number on the screen. It is like running on computer code. And 2, a lot of countries and states and places have had to make laws, like literally sign something into law that says if someone steals your crypto, you have the right to get it back. Understand the significance of that, because a lot of places don't have those laws in place. And we've seen situations where people have like allegedly stolen someone else's crypto. And it took like a year for the court to be like, I guess it's your money. So each individual state having to do this on their own is a little weird, because I just completely assumed if I bought it, it's mine. If you paid money for it, it's yours kind of thing. There's also countries who are trying to make it illegal and have made it illegal for people to mine their own crypto. Remember, I told you before, we've had a couple of news stories over the years of a number of countries where apparently the only way to mine is through, like, the word's not government support, but the government has to give you the thumbs up to be like, yeah, you can do this. You have to like file a license and everything. It's nonsense. You don't have to file a license to like buy a computer, to like play video games and all these other things. So it's the idea that you could be or would be making money that they're simply not privy to, not paying attention to, that they don't know about. And then the idea of money laundering comes in, which is also complete nonsense, because most of the people who we have heard who have some type of, and I air quotes here, have some type of an illegal cryptocurrency mining operation, it's usually people like who have one machine, like literally one machine in their home, who are making like 28 cents per day. And they live in countries where the economy is so bad that 28 cents actually is able to like feed them and their family. And they're like, yeah, this extra money is helping out a lot. So to even, it's just another form of corruption. So this was relatively popular news. It's a shame that we've gotten to the point in the future where we have to tell people like, yeah, it's okay. Like, you can use your computer for computer stuff, or like you can self-custody your own crypto because, it's yours and you have the right, because there's no conversation around that for the US dollar, for gold. We know that if you buy a house and it's in your name, then it's in your name. But alas, I digress. The bill, HB 3594, was introduced by Republican State Representative Brian Hill and carried in the Senate by Republican State Senator Bill Coleman. It was inspired by model policy from state-focused Bitcoin mining advocacy group Satoshi Action Fund. That is, it's not a bad name. The Satoshi Action Fund. It sounds like an anime that you've never heard of, that your friend really loves, but you just refuse to watch it, which was helped introduce similar legislation in 15 other states. Cool. Fantastic. I hope more places do this. If only 15 states have done this, well, there's 35 left that need to also do the exact same thing. I just heard someone say there's 51 states. Please, for the love of goodness, go get help, because there's not. Have you ever seen those videos, oh my gosh, online, of people asking like questions on the street? And there are people who like live in the states who think that there are 51 or 52 states. No, stop it. No, there's only 50. So cool. Hopefully the other states get to it relatively soon, because, I want whatever. What I want doesn't really matter, but people should have the right to, own their own crypto. And also, when you do calculations on the computer, this is how you like mine Bitcoin. The fact that someone even thought of making that illegal is absolutely diabolical. That's the Oklahoma. Is this also one? What is this? Oh. Wait. Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it was something else. Okay, no. Two completely different stories. That's the Oklahoma has a Bitcoin rights bill. Yeah. Let's move on. I thought the next one was the exact same thing. It is not. Also in the news, Wisconsin is officially the first U.S. state to buy Bitcoin. Yeah, this is according to a new filing with the U.S. SEC. The state of Wisconsin's investment board purchased 94,000 shares of BlackRock's ETF, valued at $98 million, and once again, $63 million worth of Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF. We are receiving a lot of news, I'm telling you. of exactly who has been buying and what their filings actually are. We've heard before many other times from other countries who've been buying large amounts of Bitcoin. We also had news, and it's not really in the news as much anymore, and I do wonder why. I believe it was Miami. I want to say Miami. That 2 years ago, Miami began to buy Bitcoin on a monthly basis. I forgot exactly what the time frame was. Yeah, I don't get it. I truly don't understand. This was not popular news. For whatever reason. I don't really have much more to say. It's more of a, when you get news that this is happening and it doesn't like set off an alarm in your head, you're not paying attention. One of the largest indicators of success for the Bitcoin market back in 2015, 16, 17 was hearing that any one company had actually gotten into the space. It was the one who was selling, you could buy socks for Bitcoin. And then it was Overstock who announced it as well. It was little, and not that Overstock is a small company, but you understand. The fact that we are getting like constant like mega companies and entire US states, the significance of allocating any amount of US dollars as a state of the United States, your main priority in essence is upholding the value and the integrity of the US dollar. Announcing or people seeing that you put $161 million of an inflating currency into something that is meant to be the exact opposite of the dollar is incredibly significant. So at some point, and I give it as May, June, July, I give it August. We are probably going to hear about 10, 11, 12 states who also have allocations of Bitcoin as well. And I know for some people, it's not going to do anything. And then at some point, you're going to wake up and every country, every city, every state is holding Bitcoin. And you're going to wonder why Bitcoin's price is $500,000. Yeah, no, this is huge. I know it may not sound like it. I'm still slowly waking up, but it's like, the other disappointment that I have comes from the fact that this news is never, and I understand why, but it's never on actual TV. Of course, it's not going to be on nighttime news. Of course, it's not going to probably be on any of the larger financial news networks. Even when you look at sometimes when they have like a guest on who's talking about Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency market, it's always like a really weird, quick segment to ask someone questions, and then they always have like a rebuttal in some sort of way. So they'll ask the person, hey, Bitcoin is up by 12%. Why is it going up? And then they'll tell them and they go, but do you think like it's going to rain on Wednesday? So Bitcoin might go down in price. It's always like they try to balance it, but there's always like a little twinge of host negativity as to why Bitcoin could be succeeding in some sort of way. But there's never a segment. Like imagine if there was like breaking news. Wisconsin owns Bitcoin. Breaking news. This company just bought a huge amount of Bitcoin. It's never there, but and once again, when I say I know why, it's because these companies, these news stations are usually owned by a family company who doesn't want that news to be released, of course, because it would, only potentially alert other people. But it's weird how many people don't know what's going on. Like have no idea what's going on. And I mean even from like the topic of finance. Ask a lot of your friends if they know what's going on with inflation. They'll have heard of inflation because they saw that prices got more expensive, but they won't know what it is. Ask your friends if they know what's going on with the interest rates. They'll have no idea what's going on. Ask them if they know about corporate landlords. They'll have no idea what's going on. Ask them if they know about, how do I phrase this? There are currently corporations and Bill Gates on the planet who are purchasing, the three letters are H and then there's a 2 and then there's an O. Look into that as well. It's like it's a huge thing right now. And people just don't know what's going on. People kind of live their day to day, and there's never an after. I mean, most people don't even think of investing, and nonetheless think of investing like, for a year later. Anyway, I'm rambling on, but it's weird to have news like this, and there's no I'm not expecting a celebration, but for people to at least acknowledge it. Like, this wasn't popular news at all. Yeah, anyway. Right, that's Wisconsin is the first state to buy Bitcoin through BlackRock and Grayscale, and there's Grayscale once again. Everyone's still buying from Grayscale despite their relatively high fees. I do think that's going to do it for this video. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope, come on, the Bank of Montreal and Wisconsin. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.